Good morning.
Morning.
I'd like to call the annual meeting of the University of Toledo Alumni Association, May 2023. I'd like to call it to order. With that, I'd like to introduce Billy Pierce, the Associate Vice President of Alumni Engagement and Development and everything else.
Good morning. So it's good to see all of you here in the room. Good morning to those who are on joining us virtually. See if I can close this window so you all don't have to see all of that. But welcome to the 2023 Alumni Association annual meeting. It's always great to have you all come back to join us for our annual tradition. As is always the case in Northwest Ohio and many places throughout the Midwest, you never know what weather you're going to get in May. And so while we had some folks who were wondering, why aren't we doing this in person and why aren't we doing it outside? Well, look outside. That's one of the reasons why. But we do appreciate those who are able to join us here this morning. We do have here on site with us the current board, incoming, outgoing board members, folks who are receiving recognition today. We have our some of our past presidents here. So thank you all for joining us here. And for those online, those are the only folks who are here with us in person. Just due to space, we had to somewhat limit. And maybe one day in the future, we'll make it back outside over at the pavilion, because that's a beautiful facility that we would love to utilize. But if you recall, we did this a couple of years ago outside in the pavilion underneath a tent, and the day started off beautiful. But by the time 3 o'clock rolled around, the clouds rolled in, the rain came, the wind and the cold came, and people were shivering. And we got a lot of emails the next day saying, why do we host this outside? So we are constantly adjusting. But also, too, what COVID taught us is we have to be virtual and flexible and being able to shift and be nimble. And so that's what this organization has done over the last several years, is try to be responsive to things that are out of our control by making sure that we cover the things that we can control. So again, thank you all for joining us again this morning. Just to give you a quick glimpse idea, you may be wondering, where are all of our alumni located? And this is partly why we've really embraced the virtual platform. The vast majority of our alumni are in the Ohio, Michigan region, as you might expect. But we've got several pockets throughout the country where we have alumni. Florida being one of the big areas. We've got a couple big areas on the East Coast, now on the West Coast, and then some spots in between. And so it allows, using a virtual format, allows those folks to engage with us in ways they weren't able to do prior to COVID. One of the interesting things that we talk about frequently is WebEx and Zoom aren't new. They've been around for a very long time. It's just that we were forced to embrace that technology when COVID hit. But again, what it allowed us to do is engage more people across a wider audience. Just to give you an idea, if you keep this map in mind, this is where all of our chapters are located. So we have several documented chapters that are aligned with some of those areas where you saw the red spots. But at the same time, too, if you go back to that map, you see there's some areas where we don't necessarily have chapters. So you look at Dallas and Houston, some up in the Minnesota area. Those are areas that we were looking to break back into. Nashville's another area. We held an event for the first time there last year. It had 25 alums. Brett Babcock, who is on this board, he and I are connecting in the next couple of weeks to figure out what are we going to do for this year's edition of Nashville Engagement for our alumni. So while we have chapters documented, we're also following the data to tell us where should we be and where can we connect with more of our friends and alumni that supports the university. I cannot stand up here and take credit for much of what we do in this office because I'm surrounded by an outstanding team of professionals that work hard every single day of the week, Monday through Sunday. If you've been to any of our events, you know we are outside, inside, traveling. Doesn't matter the day of the week, time of the day, evening, you name it. Our folks are out trying to make sure we're offering programs and engagement opportunities that are convenient for our alumni. But we have an amazing group of people that work with me every single day. This is our alumni engagement and annual giving team that, again, helps drive what we do here every day. Angela, you see up in the top right corner, just logged in. The camera just went off. Hi, Angela. Sarah Metzger, who is my wonderful assistant and helps make sure all this stuff runs smoothly. So Sarah, thank you. Jeanette Espinosa in the back. Anything related to membership, you call, you're talking to Jeanette. Jeanette, thank you for being here. And sitting next to her is Shirley Grzecki. Shirley, if you could wave. So many of you should know Shirley. Unfortunately, Shirley will be leaving us at the end of this month because she's starting a new chapter called retirement. So Shirley means a lot to this office, and it certainly predates me, but Shirley, we love you and thank you for all that you have done and will continue to do. I know you and Tom will be engaged once you retire, but your contributions have been invaluable, so thank you so much for all that you've done for us. We also continue to increase our student scholarship contribution each year, knowing that students need to graduate to become alumni. And we know that one of the biggest barriers to graduation is financial challenges. And so our Alumni Association continues to award more and more scholarships each year, thanks to the generosity of many of you in this room and our faithful donors. So we're continuing to strive towards that goal of $100,000 per year, going back to current undergraduate and graduate students at Toledo to make sure they cross that stage for commencement and join the ranks of our thousands of alumni around the world. You also may know, or hopefully you know, the university celebrated 150 years. The Articles of Incorporation were signed on October 12th, 1872. So we have spent an entire year celebrating what amounts to our birthday, and it's been a fun year. There's a committee that was formed last summer, and we've been working diligently throughout the year to make sure we highlight this momentous occasion as we prepare to take steps into our next 150 years as an institution. We've had quite a bit of celebration going on. Down at one government center, they flew the 150th flag, thanks to our mayor. And so this was not just a university celebration. We really wanted to make it a community and Toledo celebration, as we are Toledo's university. Throughout the fall, we had a Founders Day barbecue where we had thousands of students participate on main campus. We fed thousands of students on both campuses, actually, faculty and staff. And so this really, again, was a celebration of the University of Toledo, but we celebrated on both of our campuses to make sure that we were including all of our key constituents in this celebration. We also hosted a Founders Day lecture where Dr. Postal gave a few remarks. Our Chancellor of the Ohio Department of Education, Randy Gardner, was here, and our very own Barbara Floyd, who, if you have not picked up your copy of her most recent book, An Institution for the Promoting of Knowledge, please do so. It is quite a gem that really spells out the core of our history as a university, how we were founded, and some of the key milestones that got us to where we are, including our merger in 2006 with the Medical College of Ohio. Barbara is a tremendous jewel, continues to contribute back to the university, and she gave a wonderful lecture in the fall, and she also gave a lecture on the history of medical education in Toledo several weeks ago on the health science campus. So we are very fortunate that she continues to stay involved even as she has retired. Then we had a huge concert on Founders Day, October 12th. Couple headliner local acts, Skittlebots. Our headliner was T-Pain, a Grammy-winning hip hop artist, and I will tell you, I've never seen Savage Arena that energized. It was a community event, free for students and folks from around Toledo, and that place was packed and it was fun. I made the mistake of standing next to the speaker, so it literally took me a couple of days to get the ringing out of my ear, but it was an exciting time for our university to be able to celebrate. And then most recently, we had our Rocket Spring Festival, also on 419 Day, where Dr. Postal began the celebration with the 2023 State of the University address, followed by spring festival activities in the Centennial Mall. And then afterwards, we literally ended it with a bang. We had fireworks on main campus that created a beautiful backdrop to University Hall. And this is probably one of my favorite pictures of campus. But again, it was a year-long celebration of our birthday, and we're going to continue moving on. As we think about why we're here to support success of our students, part of that celebration included a goal of raising $5 million to support need-based scholarships for our current students. We are currently at 3.2 from 2,544 donors. So for those of you who have contributed to that fund, thank you so much. For those who are still considering it, this campaign will be running through the end of June. And again, all that money goes back to support students who have financial need at the University of Toledo, both graduate and undergraduate. So from the Alumni Association perspective, just wanted to quickly go over a couple things that we're extremely proud of when we think about our year in review. But actually, before I do that, there's one thing here I want to make sure I mention. He's in the back of the room, Dave Langendorfer. Dave kindly donated the Jersey Mike's lunch for us today. So Dave, thank you so much for doing that. For those online, Dave, who don't know Dave is one of our current board members and a big Rocket supporter all around. So if you're in the Toledo area or traveling here, please make sure you stop by one of his Jersey Mike's locations, Little Caesars. And if you have storage needs, Mr. Storage. So wasn't intended to be a commercial, but I always want to make sure we acknowledge people that support the Alumni Association. So David, thank you so much. So this is, the current board members know that these are slides I show every time I give a presentation because we should never deviate from why we are here. And what we do, every decision we make as Alumni Association should be for what's the best for our alumni, what's best for our association, and what's best for our alma mater. If any of our decisions or conversations deviate from that, then we're heading off track and we need to make sure we bring that train back on the tracks. The goals you see listed here, keeping alumni informed. That's probably one of the things we do the most, to the point of people saying you guys over communicate, but I'll take that versus under communicating. Part of our job is to make sure our alumni and retirees know what's going on our campuses. But we also want to know what's going on in the lives of our alumni and retirees. Continue to increase pride in our institution. Engaging alumni is a benefit to the University of Toledo, particularly thinking about recruiting, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Keeping the university informed about what you all are doing and fostering active interest, support, and involvement in our alumni and in the lives of our students. That's what we're here to do. This is kind of Billy's version to tack onto that. For us to be positioned for success moving forward, we have to be innovative, and sometimes innovation flies in the face of tradition. But that's what we talk through as a board and as a leadership team, as the staff, of how do we maintain tradition, but also make sure we're meeting the needs of our alumni that are constantly changing, as is the world around us. I want to set the standard for alumni associations and become the one that other associations benchmark off of, and I can tell you that is happening. I had a colleague at an institution call maybe 6 months ago. I won't call them out as an institution, but they're a fairly large institution in the state of Tennessee, and said, hey, we see what you're doing. We'd love to talk with you about how we can implement that at my university. So continuing to raise the bar here, because we want to be the standard for how alumni engagement should take place. We have to be very strategic, particularly in times of budget challenges, when you never know when a pandemic may come along, but we have to be positioned to be nimble and make the best use of our resources, be data formed in just about everything we do, both qualitative and quantitative. There is a time and place for feedback directly from our alumni, which we welcome. But as you saw on that map earlier, we also have to let the data help tell us where we need to be going and engaging and adjust our strategies accordingly and continue to be responsive. I can tell you this office is one of the ones that people call first, even if it has nothing to do with alumni relations, because they know our team is going to be responsive as best we can and help them get to where they need to be. Membership has slowly rebounded since COVID. So we're just over 8,900 members, both annual and lifetime. That does exclude the complimentary members. So we're still offering a complimentary membership to recent graduates. That is something that it was 5 years, but we voted to, as a board, to bring that back to 1 year, which is what it was for many years, because we found that 5 years really didn't impact engagement much. So we have moved it back to 1 year of a complimentary membership. But very happy to see the membership numbers slowly moving back in the right direction. Events, it feels like we are pacing faster than pre-COVID levels, but as you can see here, we have returned to a large number of engagement events for the association and our affiliates. I will tell you, we do much more than just events. One of the misnomers is that we're event planners, and that we are. but there's so much more this Alumni Association does. But one of the key measurables is what types of engagements and how many engagements are taking place. And you see we've already outpaced the last 3 years. We have 12 more currently scheduled, so that's going to get us back to pretty close to what it was before COVID, and we'll probably have a few more that outpace that. But the emphasis should always be on quality versus quantity. The other thing I'll note is, and I had someone reach out to me saying when they found out that annual meeting was going to be mostly virtual, every other institution's back to doing things in person. You guys need to open back up. 93% of our events this fiscal year have been in person. Of the ones that were not, 11 were a part of an intentional virtual series. So we would have done that anyway. So we have opened back up and we've been back at it as we always have been. And so I wanted to share that so people really are aware that though we are largely virtual today, the vast majority of the things we do, we're right back out with you here in Toledo and throughout our region engaging alumni. And so we're back in full swing. I won't go through all these, but this just gives you a quick glimpse of just some of the things that have taken place. We do events throughout Ohio all year long. We had 425 people join us for a pregame event before the Toledo Ohio State game last year. As you all know, we're here for every home game. Football and basketball were very successful, and with that came alumni events in Toledo, Cleveland, Knoxville. We're hoping to continue that next year. I mentioned Nashville, we've been at Phoenix, second year in a row after COVID. The alumni ski trip has taken place. Raleigh, Charlotte, San Diego, and our retirees are probably one of our most active groups that we have that are constantly programming and have multiple events every month. So there's a lot that goes on between the association and our affiliate groups that we should be very proud of. I mentioned earlier, how can alumni help? And some of the things that we have been able to do for several years is solicit volunteers to help us write postcards to incoming students. So this is year 4. The first 2 years, we had exactly 200 alumni say, I will be happy to write 10 postcards to mail them off to prospective students who are deciding on whether or not to come to Toledo. This year, we had 280, the most ever in our 4 years of doing this. And it's a proud moment if you did that. Could you please raise your hand if you're in the room? The majority. So thank you so much. That I can tell you from an admission standpoint, I'm looking at Martino because we share the admissions hat and Crystal shaking her head in the background. That alumni voice can make a difference. That extra voice outside the admissions office can make a difference when it comes to building a sense of community for a student who's trying to decide on what institution to enroll. So what enroll. One of the best things we can do is help our institution recruit more Rockets and therefore future alumni. So thank you to everyone that participated. And then always a very good note, we had a clean audit with no recommendations from our auditor this year, which is always a point of pride because we are adamant and diligent about making sure we are making good use of resources that you all entrust us with. So I think it's a badge of pride for everyone that worked on that, including the foundation accounting team that has taken over managing our books. I think that is something that we should all be proud of. And so grateful that for the second year in a row, we've had a clean audit with no recommendations from our auditor. From an annual giving standpoint, thank you all for participating in our annual day of giving. We raised just under $2.2 million, but since we are going to round up today, we're going to say 2.2. That is a record from 3,177 gifts. And many of those gifts are from folks who were giving previously to Day of Giving. So there's a tremendous amount of support that folks provide throughout the year, not just for Day of Giving, but we're grateful for those who saw the value and continuing to contribute for Day of Giving. And specifically, just under $30,000 was raised for Alumni Association funds specifically. So again, thank you all so much for your support. We truly, truly appreciate it. Also, a badge of honor we should be proud of is 100% participation from our Alumni Association Board and Day of Giving, and 100% participation from our alumni staff and annual giving staff. And it's something I believe in, is that we can't ask people to support things we don't support ourselves. And so I show this slide to tell you that our staff and our board are committed to every goal we ask you all to support. And that's important, and we will continue to push that as we move forward. Because again, we have to show as leaders that we support the things we're asking others to get involved in. So typically at this time, we have remarks from our outgoing president. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here with us physically today. However, he did record a message. So I'm going to do my best. The sound, for some reason, in the room is a little bit soft, but for those online, you should hear fine. But just wanted to share a few remarks from our outgoing board president, Mr. Pete Davis.
Fellow alumni, I wanted to take a brief moment and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be the president of the Alumni Association and say thank you for all your support in advancing our mission. When I reflect back on the time spent with being involved with the board, we have been faced with some challenges, but I feel with adversity comes opportunity. Jeff Williams, the incoming president, has a strong vision to advance the Alumni Association into the next couple years. I apologize for not being present at the meeting, but I look forward to serving my term as the past president over the coming year. Thank you.
So Pete has been a great leader. I've enjoyed working with him over the last year and certainly look forward to work with him in his capacity as past president in the upcoming year. Andre Swinnerton, who is joining us online today, was the chair of the awards committee that got together and reviewed several applications for affiliate of the year, chapter of the year, and volunteer of the year. So in lieu of him being here, I'm actually going to read through that portion as we acknowledge our awardees for this upcoming year. So affiliate of the year, I'm very proud of this group. I used to work with them when I first came on board, and so I know firsthand just how much time, effort, and dedication they put into planning events for their constituents. They are a very strong group. They have a strong leader, several committees that are meeting regularly to schedule events. The one that I love is the one that's committee on committees to make sure things stay aligned. Their meetings are lively, spirited, very efficient. They get quite a few things done every year. I am super impressed the events that they have hosted over the last year. They had an event at the Museum of the Great Lakes. They had their annual bus trip that finally returned after a hiatus after a couple of years and went to Vermont. They did a trip up to Purple Rose Theater that I know we're trying to plan for several years. We're able to pull that off this year. I love that they bring in lecturers to come in and talk about important topics that are going on that are relevant to our community and to the university. They started a walking group, which I need to join. Someday I'll get out there. Now the weather's getting nice, I may. They have a book buddies group that meets monthly here in the building, and they pick a book and they go through and dive in at great length. And so I would tell you they are consistently one of our most active groups. So if you could please join me in welcoming our 2023 affiliate of the year, the University of Toledo Retirees Association. And joining us for a few remarks is the president of UTRA, who was a longtime employee of the foundation, very active in the community, led one of the groups. I think they did a Woodlawn Cemetery tour, and I've heard great feedback from that event. And so want to welcome Chris up to the podium to say a few remarks.
Billy kind of stole my speech. That's all right. On behalf of the 712 members of the University of Toledo Retirees Association, I want to thank the Alumni Association for this recognition. We do have a very dynamic and active group and invite all retirees to join us for more of the same. And as I end my term as president of UTRA, I would like to share with you some of the activities. He mentioned some of them. We did have a bus trip to the Purple Rose Theater in Chelsea, Michigan, to see the play Sherlock Holmes and the Adventure of the Ghost Machine. A program by Kimberly Brownlee on the history of the Toledo State Hospital included a tour of the cemetery associated with that historic facility. We rooted for the Rockets at a football game versus Kent State and enjoyed a pregame tent party in the Alumni Pavilion and a basketball game in the Advancement Suite. We've held joint meetings with Women in Philanthropy, one of which was featuring Barbara Floyd, who talked about the history of UT. Dr. Andy Jorgensen presented a program on global climate disruption, and we had a most interesting and enlightening program on recycling by Adam Cassie, Executive Director of Keep Toledo, Lucas County Beautiful. Our trip to Haynes Greenhouse Nursery included information on container gardening that we got to put into use right then and there by getting dirt under our fingers as we created our own flower pots. A luncheon cruise aboard the Sandpiper on the Maumee River was a sold-out success. A wine tasting event with Jim Sauter was a most tasty event. We had our annual meeting luncheon at Belmont and our holiday brunch at Heather Downs Country Club. Members did enjoy a 6-day trip to Vermont where we visited all sorts of interesting places, and that included a dinner cruise on Lake Champlain, and a chance meeting with Bernie Sanders on the streets while we were shopping. And we do have an upcoming bus trip this August to Lancaster and Dutch County, Pennsylvania, to include a day long at Gettysburg. Another lecture program was held entitled Time Travel Toledo by Ted Ligabell, who discussed the most beloved historic places in downtown Toledo with photographs. Several of our lecture programs are on our website, and you can click on them and view the actual program. UTRA also sponsors several scholarships, and we have raised money to support the UT Food Pantry and the Health Science Campus and Main Campus, in addition to collecting stuffed animals to support the UTMC satellites. And as Billy mentioned, we have a breakfast group that meets the first Tuesday of every month for a social breakfast. Book Buddies meets here to discuss books that people are reading. And the UT Pathfinders walks every other Wednesday at a local, several different local metro parks, followed up by a lunch. Any UTRA member is encouraged to join us in these groups. And information about any UTRA event can be found on our webpage and on our Facebook page. It really is safe to say that not a month goes by what there is at least one UTRA event. One project that we started this year, and I want to thank Dr. Kurt Black, immediate past UTRA president, who's with me today, and this was the development of the UTRA committee guidance document. This document covers the committee chair responsibilities, the committee member responsibilities, and the executive board responsibilities to the committees. It has sections for each of our standing committees that outlines the structure, purpose, functions, responsibilities, and operating procedures for each of our committees, which includes benefits, bylaws, communication committee, newsletter, membership committee, nominating, program, scholarship. We have 2 scholarship committees, philanthropy committee, and our representative to the Ohio Council of Higher Education Retirees Association. This document is also now on our webpage. And I would be remiss if I did not thank Sarah, right over there, from the Alumni Association, who is our administrative contact. Her assistance is invaluable. And again, a big thanks to all of you from UTRA for this most appreciated recognition. Thank you.
Chris and Kurt, thank you both so much. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you all for all that UTRA does to support retiree engagement, also support student scholarships, and your voice in making sure we continue to be a strong institution. So thank you so much.
I think I took your speech.
It's all right, I got it memorized. All right, next up, we'd like to recognize the chapter of the year. And this group has also been very active over the past year. They've done outdoor skating. They quickly organized an event around a Toledo, Ohio State baseball game last year that Toledo won. They've done Top Golf. They've done Mud Hens events when they're down in this city. They've done watch parties. They've engaged with alumni online. And so they have really been a chapter that has grown to be one of our strongest ones. And so without further ado, I would like to acknowledge our chapter of the year is Columbus. So Mr. Robert Kramer, who is the Columbus chapter president, is joining us online from Obetz, Ohio. Good morning.
Morning, Billy. Thank you. Yeah, it really is an honor to accept the University of Toledo Alumni Association Chapter of the Year award. First and foremost, I want to thank the awards committee and the board of trustees for their hard work on both poring over all of the applications submitted from the various chapters nationwide and their ultimate selection of the Columbus Capital City Chapter of the UToledo Alumni Association. We appreciate your recognition of our efforts over these past 2 years. I would also like to thank the other leaders within the Columbus chapter, Brandon Stewart, Jasmine Alfred, Candace Ronnie, and Kenesha and Jermaine Archie, who have each volunteered their time on the planning committee as well as in their attendance to our events. My name is Robert Kramer. As Billy said, I'm the president of the UToledo Columbus chapter. I've been an active member in the UT Alumni Association for about the past decade, serving first as vice president and now as president of the chapter for the past 5 years. I graduated from the University of Toledo as part of the class of 2005 with my bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering and a minor in mathematics. I work as a data analyst for Southwestern City School District, where I've now worked for the past 14 years. I also have the opportunity to serve civically as a member of City Council for the city of Obetz, where I'm now in the middle of my second term. During these past 2 years, we're proud to have held so many events for our local alumni to attend. These events have allowed for alumni spanning over 50 years of graduation to mingle, enjoy themselves, and most importantly, each other's company. This has been our strength, welcoming a diverse group of UT alumni with different backgrounds to each of our events. We work hard to make sure that anyone attending is only a stranger once. Even during the waning months of the pandemic, we ensured that our Central Ohio UToledo alumni were able to get together comfortably by scheduling COVID-conscious outdoor events, including a Columbus Clippers Toledo Mud Hens game, ice skating at an outdoor skating rink, Topgolf social, and especially when the Toledo baseball team paid a visit down here last year to defeat OSU. And actually, as Billy said, that was an amazing event because it was the end of March and ended up being 73 degrees outside. Couldn't have been a better pop-up event. We are looking to continue to grow this momentum into 2023, including a sold-out tour and social event at the Brewdog North American Brewery in Canal Winchester. We did that a couple months ago, back in March. Columbus Clippers game at the end of June, where we've also extended an invitation to the faculty, staff, and administration of the UT College of Pharmacy while they're in town for a continuing education event. This fall, we're going to be walking the Columbus Distillery Trail through Experience Columbus. And finally, we're looking to continue our now yearly tradition of a football watch party at Fido Irish Pub. I'd also like to close with one final thank you to Paul Smith, our wrangler from the University of Toledo Foundation, who without him, we would not be receiving this award today. His hard work and commitment, not just to the Columbus chapter, but all chapters that he serves, has aided UT in having a stronger alumni association today. So I'd also like to quickly share my favorite Paul story and his help for us. In our last event before the onset of the pandemic in early March 2020, we had a craft beer and wine tasting social event at Kindred Brewing in Gahanna. Paul was really excited to come down for this, but came down with a high fever and was unable to attend. As per his usual commitment, he wanted me to check in during the event and let him know if there's anything he could do to help. Food at the brewery that evening was provided by a mobile food truck that would bring a portable oven and tent. Just as the event was beginning, a pop-up storm cell came up right over top of us, came through, destroying much of the food truck's equipment. I decided the best way to break this news to Paul would be to just send him a single uncaptioned image of the destroyed remains of the pizza setup. His initial panicked response did not disappoint. It was priceless. But in true fashion, he quickly offered to order in some pizza from the nearest Donato's. We picked it up, and then we enjoyed a fantastic evening. Everyone really enjoyed themselves, and little did we know it would be the last time we'd all get together for the next year. What could have been a disaster turned into such a memorable evening for everyone, and we were all able to walk away with a story that none of us would forget. Thank you, Billy.
Robert and the Columbus chapter, thank you all so much. Hopefully we don't have any more repeats of the tent disaster, but you remember I said about being innovative, versatile, and responsive? Perfect example of how that works well. So Robert, thank you. And Paul is online. Paul, thank you for your leadership as well. And now we'd like to recognize our volunteer of the year. This person is no stranger to the University of Toledo, has been probably one of the most active and involved people I know. She may say otherwise, but I am so thankful that she says yes every time we ask her to serve on a committee, to support something going on within the university and the college that she graduated from. She has a scholarship she has started. She's served on the board, and will be coming back to join us. She was nominated to serve on the board again and was selected to come back and join us. But she is literally everywhere. And so we're so grateful for the amount of time she spends with us, because she is certainly a smiling face that I enjoy seeing. The folks on my staff that work with her all have nothing but great things to say. Just as a point of note, the Volunteer of the Year is recognized and voted on by the alumni engagement staff. And so we really look at people who have contributed a lot throughout the year, time, talent, and treasure, to make our association better, to make our university better. So please join me in welcoming our 2023 Volunteer of the Year, Miss Carol Thomas.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, the Alumni Association. When Sarah called me a couple weeks ago to tell me that I had been bestowed this honor, I was at a loss for words. And anybody that knows me knows that this mouth is never quiet. That's never at a loss for words. She notified me, she said, you'll be asked to say a few words at this meeting. And so when I was talking to my daughter, I told her, I said, so I put down a few words. I said, it's going to be very short. I said, it's going to be less than 60 minutes. And she went, what? And I went, oh, no, I meant 60 seconds, 60 seconds. Okay, nothing like getting an award for doing something that you enjoy, that you love, and does so much for you. Actually, I do this for two reasons. The first one is, of course, my love of the university. I love everything about the university, what it does for the people, what it does for the community, what it has done for me. That's my true love. But the second one I have to tell you is it's purely selfish on my part. For one thing, it gets me out of the house. It gets me out of the house so much that when I'm going on 470 west on 475, my car automatically wants to get off on Douglas Road to come out here. It keeps my little brain cells working. You know, the famous Belgium detective, his little gray cells, that's what it does for me. It keeps me active, and it's just such a help for me. Excuse me. The other thing is the most wonderful people that I've met and the networking that I've been allowed to do. I can't say enough about the people. They're just fabulous. Everybody that does anything like this with the volunteering, or the people that work at the university, are doing it with a smile on their face and with laughter in their voice. And it's just such a great pleasure to have all these happy people. Every time I do something, I learn something. A little bit, might not be major, but I always come away with at least one more thing that I didn't know before. I said, whether it's working the bar at the football games or helping to select scholarship recipients, I'm so impressed when we read those scholarship applications and the great students that we have coming here and that are here at the university. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this. So therefore, as long as I'm allowed and I'm accepted, I will continue to volunteer and encourage everyone else to do so. Thank you again for this great honor. Go Rockets.
Carol, I will commit to you, as long as I am here, you will be allowed and accepted. So thank you so much. Thank you to our awardees today. We appreciate all that you do. And now it's time to recognize some very deserving students. And to do so, I'd like to introduce Mr. Jeff Williams, Chair of the Scholarship Committee.
Thanks, Billy. Each year, hundreds of students submit applications to be considered for Alumni Association scholarships. Those applications number in the thousands, and there are so many deserving students that need those scholarship monies. As Billy mentioned earlier, we awarded $75,000 to students that will be enrolled in UT this fall. The scholarship committee and I are working on strategies to continue increasing that total as we award each year, and we are grateful to all the alumni and donors that have supported the students so far. As many of us received scholarships during the time as students, we know how important it is to remove the financial barriers and earning a degree that for many can change their lives. It is now time to recognize this year's scholarship recipients.
Hi, my name is Jameson Halliday, and on May 6th, I will become a proud graduate of the University of Toledo. I will be starting my Master's in Business Administration program in Marketing Management this summer. I'll have the opportunity to graduate next summer, and because of your donation, I will graduate my master's degree with little to no financial burden. Thank you again for fueling tomorrows.
My name is Caitlin Jacoby, and I am so thankful to have been chosen as a recipient of this year's Alumni Association Scholarship. This scholarship has made such a big impact on my way to being a special education teacher, and I can't thank everyone who's involved with it enough.
Hi, my name is Sam Simpson. I'm a first-year medical student here at UToledo. I just want to extend my sincerest thanks to the Alumni Association for this scholarship. It's going to help me a great deal in the pursuit of my MD degree. I'm so happy I'm here in Toledo, and go Rockets!
Congratulations again, and a special congrats and thank you to the scholarship committee who put a lot of countless hours and had some tough decisions, but it's a very important process. And so again, thanks again for your commitment. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you to the scholarship committee. It's always interesting to read some of the testimonial thank yous from the students, but for those who read those scholarship applications, we know that there's some students with some very compelling stories that your heart goes out to them, and we wish we had money for every single student. So it's important, as I showed in the earlier slide, to continue raising funds so that we can go back and help more students like you saw on screen today. At this time, we want to recognize and thank those individuals whose terms on the Alumni Association Board of Trustees are unfortunately coming to an end. Each person will receive our famous tower print memento as a gesture of our sincere gratitude for their service to the Alumni Association. For those who are in the room, if you could please come forward. We've got your memento that Sarah will hand to you. Once you grab it, if you can come and stand kind of in front of the camera so people can see you, that would be great. So not with us today, but I believe joining us virtually is Mr. John Cook, Ms. Jennifer Dawson, just so I can see you on. Oh. Thank you. Christian DeBacchio. Christian and I go way back. We spent time together at UT. 4 years, 23 years? Yeah. Mr. Dave Dimitrica. Thank goodness his time is ending. I'm kidding. Unfortunately, he gets the mic later, so I know it's coming. Mrs. Dawn Humphrey. This is Alia Kayed, our student government representative. Mr. Mark Langendorfer. Mrs. Joan Levitan. Ms. Kate Matz, who I believe Kate is joining us online today. I won't give commentary for everyone, but I have to pause for a minute and tell you, Kate has done an outstanding job as our treasurer. She and I have worked closely together, but her leadership has allowed us to streamline a lot of our financial reports, make them easier to read. I think it helped with our transition to moving our bookkeeping from the association to the foundation accounting team. She has literally spent hours upon hours working to get us to where we are. And we are in a good spot because of her leadership and contribution. So Kate, if you're still with us and listening, thank you so much for your time, effort, and your talent that you contributed to us. Miss Michelle McCaster and Miss Ambria Mikulanchik. So please join me in thanking our outgoing Board of Trustee members. So for the second year in a row, we have no changes to our bylaws. And so just want to make note of that in case anyone happened to be wondering. But anytime we do, we always make sure those changes come before our membership at our annual meeting. But again, we do not have any changes to our bylaws for this current year. What I'd like to do now is to introduce to you officially Mr. Dave Dimitrica.
Dave is currently the president of Demetrica Jacobs Engineers here in Toledo. He earned his Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering in 1980 and his Master of Science degree in Civil Engineering in 83, both from the University of Toledo College of Engineering. Dave steadily led the Alumni Association as we transitioned out of the pandemic and into a future where we are now more versatile and responsive to our alumni. Please join me in welcoming the immediate past president and my friend, Chair of the Nominating Committee, Mr. Dave Demetrica.
Thank you, Billy. As chair of the nominating committee and immediate past president, it's now my pleasure to present to you the slate of officers and trustees recommended by the nominating committee, which is made up of past presidents of the Alumni Association. The proposed slate will appear on the screen and are as follows. The proposed slate of officers: President Jeff Williams, First Vice President Andre Swearengin, Second Vice President Matt McClure, Secretary Jana Gessner, and immediate past President Pete Davis. Slate of trustees: Dr. Shaza Othmani, Brett Babcock, Dr. Nancy Collins, Christo Glambin, Dr. Martino Harmon. I'm sorry, hit me later. If you don't, he will. Yeah, I know. That's okay. You can ruin my name one day. David Langendorfer, Evelyn McKinney, Michael McConan, Dr. Mohammed Musa, Dr. Nicholas Santilli. And the proposed slate of officers and trustees for incoming board members: Tony Bassett, Reggie Bradley, Dr. Kim Campbell, George Garib, Cherie Madison Emery, Matthew Miller, Carol Thomas, Brandon Tucker, and Lucas will be the student government representative. I'd like to request a motion and a second to accept the slate as presented by the nominating committee. Is there a motion? So moved. Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you. For those of you watching virtually, general body voting to approve the slate of officers and trustees can be done by selecting in favor or opposed on your screen. For those of us here in the room, all in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Good. Now we'll give the people online 30 seconds or so. And when I get the nod from people with the real power, Sarah, we will announce.
Line poll is closed. Of the 16 people who participated, unanimous approval of the board.
Thank you. The motion carries and the new officers and trustees are approved. Thank you all. Following the approval of the members that voted today, I am now pleased to introduce to the new president of the University of Toledo Alumni, the University of Toledo Alumni Association for the 23-24 academic year, Mr. Jeff Williams. So we're going to start laughing, but they're not going to see me, so it doesn't matter. Not even laughing. Sure, see it. Jeff is currently the area president for Focus CFO, an organization dedicated to empowering business owners with sound financial management, forward-thinking insights, and tools and productive financial strategies to increase organizational value, efficiency, and effectiveness. He and his wife, Alexandria, a 2005 UT alum, own Cookie Cutters Haircuts for Kids in Perrysburg. Prior to his current roles, Jeff owned Bassett Nut Company for 9 years. In 2004, he earned his Bachelor's of Business Administration in Financial Services from the University of Toledo College of Business. Please join me in welcoming the new president of the Alumni Association, Mr. Jeff Williams.
Thank you, Dave, and the fellow alumni. It is our tradition usually to recognize the outgoing Alumni Association president with the gavel and a pin. Pete not being here, we'll make sure he gets that, but I do want to take a second to say I really appreciate Pete's guidance and leadership through the previous year. He's setting us up in the right momentum to have a very successful 23-24 season. As this meeting ends, I just want to say it's an honor to be standing here in front of you today. I want to thank you all for this opportunity and for the responsibility that it bears. The mission of the Alumni Association is to engage and connect alumni, students, and friends with the university. As you heard from all the highlights today, we are certainly achieving that mission, and it is my goal to make sure we continue that this upcoming year. But it doesn't come without challenges, as Pete alluded to. The good news, as you can tell, we have an amazing staff, a great leader in Billy, and a dedicated board in front of us today. With that, I look at these challenges as a chance to find new ways to make our Alumni Association better than ever. From day one, Billy strived for our organization to be the standard for alumni associations worldwide, or as I like to say, the best in class. The positive news is we are starting to do that, as Billy already mentioned, as larger university alumni associations are reaching out to find out how we're doing things. As we work through the year, I asked my fellow alumni university friends to join me in the board in participation with your time, treasure, and talent as we try to move to be the best in class alumni association there is. Bill? Being that it's Dave's last meeting, I'll let him do the honor.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? The meeting is adjourned. TOL.